Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana hobby guy. Well, after I guess over a year of making videos, and probably half of that year making them on an Ortur laser, I finally got an Ortur laser to review. And now they want to push out a couple of them. So today we're going to be looking at the Ortur Orfino. How is that pronounced? Orfero. Orfero Laser 2. I wish they would come up with easier names for them, you know. The Laser Master was a good name, but Orfero Laser 2. I'm just having a terrible time pronouncing that. So we're going to get started right away today. It's going to be a long video, but I'm going to cover a lot of bases in this and probably everything that you need to know about this laser. And I'm even going to include today how to connect with laser Grbl, which is something I usually don't do. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here we have the Ortur Aufero Laser 2. Okay, interesting. I don't know why they have to make these names so complicated. First glance, beautiful looking machine, really nice. I love the fact that all of the timing belts are already installed. And not only are they installed, but they're installed to my liking, like a bass guitar. You can strum it like a bass guitar. And, you know, that's the way it should be right there. Perfectly tensioned. So I don't know if I have this laid out right yet. No, I know that I don't. This one goes on that side, that one goes on this side, but that's okay. They have these nice little markings on here from 0 to 400. So nice aluminum. I like it. It does have the standard 3D printer wheels, which look a little bit small. They're pretty small. I love the fact that they've got the belt tensioner right there and that it's a thumb screw. Nice job. This machine has 3 different stepper motors. So you've got one on each side, and you've got the one up on top for the X, for the gantry. So this machine came with 2 laser modules. Right here we have the LU24SF, which is the short focus. One of the improvements that they did on this is the cover right here. Look at that. They put magnets. So they're paying attention to the market by putting those magnets in. And something else that I've noticed is that there is a spot for an air assist here, although it's sealed. You'd have to drill that out. But there is a spot for the air assist. So I'm not quite sure how you would feed the cable through, because I don't see a clear path to the top. So that is kind of weird. It looks like that air assist would go through that hole, but no, it wouldn't. Because when I look at it this way, you probably can't see it, but that hole does not line up with up there. Well, I'm guessing that maybe, no, you couldn't even do it that way. I was going to say maybe it could come in from the side. I have no idea. No idea. I'm not that smart to figure that out. So anyway, we've got the short focus module here. And then it also came with the LU24LF, which is the long focus, which is my favorite, is the long focus. And it also came with everything that you need to set up an air assist, which is kind of nice. You know, I think that's a that's a good way to set it up. So here's our package right here of all of the air assist parts. And this is really, I should probably cover this now, because a lot of people have questions about this. So let's grab the little Allen wrench that comes with it. And what you have to do is find the little Allen key, which is right there. Can you see it right there? I don't know if you can see or not. I'm going to stick my Allen wrench in here. I'm going to unscrew this a little bit, and then this part right here screws off like so. Now, once you've taken that part off, the next thing that you want to do is find your air assist, which is right here. This is your air assist. What we're going to do is take and put the air assist right like that over the laser module. And then we're going to find a grub screw. Here it is right here. Here's the extra grub screw in its own little baggie. How do you like that? So we'll get that grub screw out of there. And we'll take and, or maybe that's just an extra. I just found one laying on the board there. It's only got a hole in one side. So we'll take that grub screw, stick it in there. We're going to go backwards first till it clicks, and then we can screw it in place. You always want to turn it anti-clockwise first, and that will make sure that the threads will line up perfectly. Now that's on there good and secure. The next part that we've got here is our actual air assist itself. This just screws on in the same manner, same fashion as we just did. And this one, it may be kind of hard to go backwards. So I'm just going to go forwards and see if I can get the threads to start. And small little things like this are a pain in the butt. You may want to assemble this first. Just because they're a pain in the butt to assemble. And there we go. So now we just need a screwdriver to tighten this up. We're just going to screw this in to here, and make sure that you don't cross thread this. That's one thing you absolutely don't want to do, is cross thread this. So now the correct position that I found with my other laser is something like that right there. That'll give enough room for it to come up around the side like that, and you can zip tie it up here. So that's all there is to putting this air assist on. And then you've got your hose somewhere. Here's the hose, and the hose fits inside here, runs up to your air compressor, and that's basically all there is to it. That hose pushes in and out of these. There's a little, this is a little control valve where you can control the amount of air you want to flow in and out, and you should probably mount it maybe somewhere right here, or you can mount it on top, or any place that you want. It doesn't make a difference where you mount this. So there we are, quick and easy air assist installation. Everything that you would expect to come with the laser is here. You've got some sample supplies. You've got all your nuts and bolts, which are just a very few, because this is a really simple assembly. So I'm not going to waste all the time doing the assembly. I'm going to do it real quick, and then I'm going to come back. And it just popped into my head that I should probably show you how to hook up the air line too, just in case you've never done this before. Unscrew this piece right here, the collar. Take and put that collar onto your air line. Feed your air line through like that. And then go ahead and press this up onto the air nozzle and tighten this down. And that is just how simple it is to do that. Probably took me 10 minutes to figure it out on the first one that I got. So I figured it's probably worth a mention on this one. And I wanted to say something else too. I am literally about 3 minutes into this build, and look where I'm at. I'm about to hook up the wires and plug it in for the first time. So that's just how quick this was to put together. It's like a 3 or 4 minute build. Very simple. So I put on the long focus head with the air assist, as you can see there. And I want you to notice the wiring. Ortur has come a long way with cutouts in the metal for the wires to come through. Let's come over to the control board. You'll see that everything is very neatly done. neatly routed. There's some extra ports on the side over here in case you wanted to add limit switches. This one does not have limit switches. So this is just a quick look from the bottom. Nice looking machine, perfectly, like I said earlier, perfectly tensioned belts all the way around. So let me flip this over, and it's not a heavy machine, it's not a light machine either. It's somewhere in the middle. Beautiful looking machine. Really looks nice. In the front you've got your what is that there? Offline controller. Okay. I don't have an offline controller, but there's a port for it. You've got your regular USB printer port right there, USB to your computer. Your 24-volt power supply goes there. Power button on the bottom. You need to hold the power button for a few seconds for it to turn it on. And the reset button on top to reset the Grbl software. Again, wiring looks real nice. Ortur has learned their lesson for sure. Everything you can see is now grounded. You know, if you had the Laser Master or the Laser Master 2, you'll know what I'm talking about. Everything's properly grounded now. Moves perfectly well. You'll see that I put the air assist on back here. It's clear of anything. Doesn't touch the timing belts. And I just snugged up those cables. I put a twist tie over here, snugged that up. And it appears that the wiring works very well. Now I think I will have to move that back just a little bit and do something about this. Maybe I will twist tie these together because it has enough room, but it seems to get in the way. So I'll have to come up with some sort of a fix for that, because the coiled wire, I've uncoiled it several times. I may have to do it one more time. But all in all, you have your little markings along here that show you your millimeters. This is a 400 by 400 millimeter laser, which is pretty much the standard. I do like the fact that you have almost a four-way pass-through on this. So plenty of clearance on the left side here, about 2 inches. Plenty of clearance in the front for most of the front up to the control board. So I'd say that's a good 14, maybe 14 and a half inches or so in the front. So you can slide through this way, or you can slide through this way, either way, to use the pass-through. Pretty machine, I have to say that. Very solid, very stable. It seems like it's well built. Everything goes together perfectly. The joinery on this is perfect. The extrusion was perfect. All of the screws went in perfectly. I didn't have a single problem. Less than 15-minute install. Really, really easy. If you're a beginner, you know, this could be the machine for you. So let's talk about the modules that it came with. I'm probably never going to use the short focus. And I'll tell you why. You only have this amount of space, you know, 2.5 millimeters between your work. And this is how you focus it. You drop it onto that, and it's focused. I don't particularly like that at all, because if you're doing any cutting. Now this, in all fairness, this module is not meant for cutting. This module is meant for precise engraving. So, you know, with that said, if that's all you do is engraving, this one's fine. I do both engraving and cutting, so I used it. And they still do include the old manual black aluminum, really, really thin aluminum if you want to focus it by eye to get the smallest dot. One of the things that I do like quite a bit is they have this adjustable front here, the laser shield. So you can flip this up and out of the way, use your focusing tool to drop your laser down onto the tool, and you're perfectly focused. I do like this knob that they put in here at an angle now. So it does work extremely well. It's very easy to use. This one does slide better than some of the previous Orturs up and down. And having that at an angle like that, it does not change your focus when you tighten it. And that's important. And I think that's a really good advancement that they made on this. So there you go. That's the first look. Let's drop it inside the CO2 and fire it up and see what happens. All right, so I've got this all set up now. I've got the wires hooked up. Everything's set up. I've got my DIODE air compressor over here with the air line running to the laser module. And I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. The twist ties I put on very loose, so there's no problems with the air restriction. The DIODE seems to be working fine. I'll turn it on. It's got a variable speed adjustment on it. I would probably use it on high because that seems to be just about the right amount of air pressure that you're going to want. But I wanted to point out, I'm going to turn that back off now. I just wanted to point out that before I turn on the Ortur, I'm going to put it in the home position because this does not have limit switches. So with it in the home position, I will press and hold the power button for a few seconds. And you just heard it connect to my computer. All right, so let's go to the computer and let me show you a few things there. One thing I just wanted to mention, maybe Ortur will watch this video. These power supplies, these plug hogs, are really a pain in the butt, especially for people that only have one plug. And you'll see that even this DIODE air compressor came with one. See how it blocks the second plug? Well, you can go on Amazon and you can get these little miniature extension cords, and they work really well for unblocking those plugs. But you know, if you work for Ortur, you really should think about using a regular power supply that has a cable on either side so that it doesn't hog the plugs on the wall. All right, so now that we've got everything hooked up as far as the Aufero is concerned, it's powered on, ready to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close Lightburn for a minute, because usually I only talk about Lightburn, but some people are saying, hey, what about laser Grbl? You know, show us how to connect laser Grbl. So okay, I'm going to do that today. We're going to come over here, we're going to go to laser Grbl. If you don't have it, it's a very quick download, just a couple seconds. Just search laser Grbl in Google. And on here, the very first thing, if you've never owned a laser before, now if this is your second or third laser, you're not going to have to do this, but the very first thing that you're going to have to do is click on Tools up here and install the CH340 driver. So you just click on that. Your computer will give you their setup window right here. This is the file. You'll see that it's a 2019 file. So on this, you just click Install. I already have it installed, so I don't want to uninstall it. It takes 2 seconds to install the driver. At that point, you should be able to come up here to this lightning bolt and click Connect. And you will see that it has connected. It says Aufero 2 S2 ready, and it is ready to go. Now, I'm not going to teach you how to use this program just because this is not what I do. It's not a program that I use anymore. It's been a long time. I'll cover a quick couple things. So in here, you want to look at your material database, because this is something that we cover a lot in Lightburn. And on here, you're going to find, if you have a popular laser, you're going to find your materials in here. Craft board and cloth and leather and plastic sheets, wood, acrylic, powder coated metals, you know, all of these different materials in here. I'll make this a little bigger so that you can see. And here it'll tell you, these are all the Ortur laser modules. If we scroll down here, you'll see then we come to Atom Stack next. We come to the SculptFun S6 next, Nauseam A5 Pro, the Comgo Z1, 10 watt and 5 watt, the longer Ray 5. You have all of these different Atom Stack M50, SculptFun S9. So this is a material database for all of these different lasers in here. Over here is the power and the speed that you should be cutting at. So if you had the Atom Stack A5 Pro and you wanted to engrave hardwood, you would do it at 80% power and 3000 millimeters per minute. And then there's remarks over on the side here. With that covered, there's not much else. You do have in here Grbl settings, you know, where you can check your settings. There's all types of languages here, and that's about it. What we're going to do is disconnect from this. I'm going to close that program, and instead what we're going to do is come over here and start Lightburn. Now with Lightburn open, you can see that I currently have a laser selected here on a COM port, okay? I'm going to come to devices, click on this device button right here. I have lots of lasers in here, so when I try and click find my laser, it's going to crash the program, so I'm not going to do that. And this is really the easiest way to do it. Just click on create manually. This is a Grbl laser, Grbl, nothing else, just Grbl. Next, it's connected by serial USB. We're going to give this a name. So we're going to call this the Aufero Laser 2. I don't know how it's pronounced. We're going to hit 400 in the x-axis length, press tab, 400 in the y-axis, and click next. And we're going to turn off auto home on startup. And the reason why we're doing this is because this laser does not have limit switches. But don't worry, I'm going to show you a hack on how you can home your laser. So I'm going to click next and finish, and now you'll see the last laser in the list is the Aufero Laser 2, and say OK. Now I can pull down my list here, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there it is right there. So it's just failing to load a library because it thinks it's something else. Don't worry about that. But you'll see that it now says ready. Did you notice it said disconnected a second ago? If I come over here to the console, it's still waiting for a connection. Okay, so let's go ahead and try a different COM port. And let me pull this out so that we can see as we go. Alright, so port failed, already in use. We're going to try COM 4, and this may be a regular problem that a lot of people run into, is choosing the wrong COM port, and there we go. So now I know it's on COM 3, and you'll see that it says here OK. And I'm glad that we had that problem connecting to it, because it's just as simple as choosing another COM port. That's all there is to it. As long as you have that CH340 driver installed, and if you don't, if this is your very first laser, then download Laser Grbl and install it that way. That's the easiest way to do it. Only takes a few minutes and you're all set. So now we have it ready because we have the OK here. And if I were to type $, which means tell me your settings, you'll see that it will tell me all of the laser settings right here. And of course this is something that's more advanced, so but at least we know it's communicating. That's all that matters. So I'll close that. We don't need the console at all. And now the laser is ready to use. Alright, so now that we've got the software installed, we're ready for the first run. So let's take a look and see what we get. Let me get the camera. Right now I've got it inside my CO2, so I'm going to use my CO2 camera. I'm going to bring this out and make it a little bigger so that we can actually see it. And I'm going to come over to the Move tab. Now, like I said, I have manually moved this to the 0, 0 position before I powered on the laser. So if we come over here on the Move tab and say Get Position, it's going to read 0, 0. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a saved position. So I'm going to click on Manage. I'm going to go over here to Add New. And 0, 0 is the position that I want. I'm going to call this Home. And I'm going to say OK. And now you see we have a saved position called Home. This is a way of fooling the laser, or being able to actually home the laser in between jobs for more accurate cuts, depending on how you use the laser. Now if you're using it in current position or user origin, it doesn't matter. But if you're like me and use it a lot in absolute coordinates, well, then it's going to matter. So let's scoot this over just a little bit to this side. And let's come over to the map icon right over here on the left, way on the left. I'm going to click on the map icon, and I'm just going to click on any position. And there it goes. It went to any position. So let me move this back, and if we come back to the Move tab now, you'll see that we are at 168 by 200. Okay? Instead of clicking home like you would normally do, let's say we just ran a job and it finished. What we're going to do if we wanted to send the laser home is just, this is the only one that we have here. So we're just going to click go. And just like that, the laser is homed. It's at the 00 position and it's ready for the next job. So that's my hack that I developed a couple of months ago when I got my first laser without limit switches. And actually, it's a couple of years ago when I got my first laser without switches, but there wasn't Lightburn back then. So this is a Lightburn hack. There we go. So now the only next thing that I'd like to do is set my finish position. So now I know this is a 400 by 400. So what I'm going to do is over here it says move to position. I'm going to tell it to go to 200 on the X, and on the Y I'm going to tell it to go to 380 is good, and I'm going to click go, and there she goes. That is the finish position that I like. When I finish doing a job over here, it will always return to that position once I click this button right over here on the right. So I'm going to click set finish position. Now whenever I cut something out, engrave something, when the job is finished, the laser is not going to stop over the top of the workpiece. It's going to scoot itself way up here out of the way so that I can reach in and get it. What I'm going to do next is let's go ahead and start the testing on this. I'm going to go load some material. Alright, so I've loaded some material now, as you can see, and I've focused the laser. So what I'm going to do is, for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to use current position in the center, like that. And we're going to come back here to the camera. Let's take some tech. We're just going to do a test. So right in the middle there, we're going to do AUFERO, which is the name of the laser. And I think that looks okay. We're going to put this into, we're going to select it. We're going to put this into fill mode. And I've got my Ortur 20 watt laser library loaded here, so I know that's going to work. We've got Plywood. Doesn't matter what. We're just going to assign the engrave to that. And that is 9,000 speed, 100% power, and it automatically put it back into line mode. So let's put it in fill mode. Let's check the size. 2.5. I'm making it a little bit bigger. Let's put it at 3 inches. Well, it doesn't matter where we place it here. It makes no difference. So there we go. Let's come back to the camera and bring it out. Make it a little bigger. Go ahead and hit the start button. And we're going to do this in live time for the simple fact that it's going to be a quick job. We're running 9,000 millimeters per minute here. Now I did put the air assist on only because I'm running it at 100% power, but I just would like to see, you know, how that works. How the laser does its very first engraving. And this is a very high speed for a 5.5 watt laser, so it's not going to be a dark engraving, but it should be pretty nice. And actually it looks like it's pretty dark. And it's pretty close to finish now. And there we go. Just about done. And that's pretty quick. I mean, this, you know, this is running a really fast job. It looks like it's doing a really good job as well. Now, when I'm in current position, it's not going to go to that position, the finished position, like I showed you. I noticed my video stopped recording there for a second. I don't know what that was all about, but all I did was pull down this menu here and click home, and it went back to the home position there. So I'm gonna go take a look at this and see what we got. All right, we're all finished. I'm gonna turn off this air assist over here, and let's take a peek and see what we got. And I am going to say that you're not going to want a better engraving than that. Now that is 9,000 millimeters per minute, and it has a little bit of depth to it, not a lot, but it has an awesome amount of color. And now you'll know why I love this long focus Ortur laser. It's just a great all-around laser. So let's do some now. You know, this has two different modules you can get it with. You can get it with the short focus or the long focus, but let me show you the long focus with some detail. All right, we've got our little graphic set up here. I put a new piece of plywood there up on the laser. I'm not going to change the settings. We're going to leave it at 9,100, and we're just going to hit start, and hopefully I put it in the right position. I'm not trying to get perfect on this, so I'm just trying to demonstrate it. And I want to show you in live time what a laser with high speed capacity can do. This is 9,000 millimeters per minute. Let me see what I had here. Cuts and layers. Yeah, 9,100. So let me just come up into this one, and we're in millimeters per minute. That's right. So this is a pretty good speed, 9,000 millimeters per minute, and you can see that the job is almost halfway done. So I am really liking this Aufero Laser 2. This is a beautiful piece of equipment. I mean, nice to look at. Very well thought out. Everything's very well thought out. I don't know how I feel about having the timing belts, you know, vertical like that. I'm not quite sure. I guess if anything gets on it, it's going to drop down to the bottom. As opposed to landing on top and staying there. So I guess it's a good idea. I don't know. You know, I really like the linear rails on the LC40. I thought that was by far, you know, one of the best new upgrades to a laser that I've seen in 2022, and especially for, you know, a base economy laser. And folks, we're talking about another economy laser here with the Ortur. Now this time I'm just doing this engraving without the air assist this time, just to see how it comes out at 9,100. And so far from what I can tell here, it's looking pretty good. Now I want you to think about this for a minute. You know, you have your own laser that you're running right now. How long would it take you to do this graphic that's almost 3 inches tall and pretty close to 2.5 inches wide in fill like this, in fill mode? You know, I mean, how long have we been going here? 2 minutes and 45 seconds so far. So we're going to do this entire graphic in 2 minutes, about 3 minutes time. .303, 304, just a little bit over 3 minutes to do that. So we're going to say maybe 320 to 325. Oh, not even 317. 317 was what we got. So let's take and send it home again. Get it out of the way. Again, when you're using current position or user origin, it's not going to go to the final position. So let's go take a look at it real quick. All right, so here's test number 2. 9,100 on plywood. What do you think? I think it looks pretty nice. Did a pretty good job on that. Can't complain. Can't complain at all. I'm liking it. So, all right, so that's it for the live videos. I'm going to now do some hyperlapse, and we'll do some cutting and some other things with it and see how well it does. All right, so I've got my universal test card loaded with a couple of little changes to it. I have put in a Stucky image right here, and that's going to run at 7,000, 90 and 20. 90 is the max, 20 is the min power. I've got the power set at, for engraving, 100% power, 9,000 millimeters per minute. I've got the cut set at 100% power, 140 millimeters per minute, and I've got air assist turned on. And I've also got a very fine detailed vector right here, and I've got a nice filled vector right over here, along with all the rest of the normal cuts and graphics. And I've already started that job, as you can see right here. And so what I will do is I will switch over to the hyperlapse camera, and just to make this go quickly. All right, here we go. I'm going to switch over. All right, so let's go over all of the things that I didn't cover in the video, or maybe didn't cover completely. And I'm going to start with pushing this laser to its maximum. Maximum speed on this is 10,200 millimeters per minute. I did a couple of test burns on a photograph that I have, and I wound up using Jarvis at 10,000 millimeters per minute for the engraving on this. I'm going to show it to you in a second. And 250 LPI, 240 millimeters per minute for the cut, to cut it out of the wood. This was a larger piece of wood. And the time that this took was 52 minutes and 1 second, the total time. And I'll actually show you that right straight from Lightburn. And there you can see 52 minutes and 1 second. And this is 7.5 inches by 9 inches. And here is the final result. Absolutely gorgeous picture. These are the 19 legends of the blues. And except for one little anomaly in the wood, and that's the grain right there, I don't think you could ask for a better engraving than this on wood. And remember, 10,000 millimeters per minute. I did push this to its maximum capacity. So that is a really beautiful engraving, especially at this speed. So let's move on. I started with just the basic text at 8,000 millimeters per minute, and then I did just a basic image at the same speed at 8,000 millimeters per minute. Then I moved on, did a few other things. I did my universal test card, which this is probably the best universal test card I've ever seen. And when I say everything on here is absolutely precise, it is absolutely precise all the way down to that 1 millimeter circle and square. The flex cuts are absolutely beautiful. They cut clean through without me having to remove one piece. Of course, that's using the air assist. And the edges just came out beautiful on it. The vector, let's see, the vector I did at 9,000 millimeters per minute, and that's the face of the woman there. And the cat, also 9,000 millimeters per minute. And the Saints logo over here was an image, and that image was Stucky at 7,000 millimeters per minute. So it did a wonderful universal test card. Probably the best that I've seen. Now, and I'm going to start doing this with all of the lasers. I wanted to do this in the actual size that it's supposed to be. So you're going to see this one is going to be a little larger than normal. and this is the grayscale test. And I'm going to tell you that this grayscale test has from 5% all the way to 100%. There is a complete gradient in every box, and I'm not sure that you can really get a good look at that on the screen here, but you know, I just wanted to show you that this was at 4,000 speed, 100% power, 254 LPI. Now the reason I know that was because the first one that I did was at 8,000 speed, and that was too high. So, and you know, this is really how you're supposed to use these. You're supposed to run the test and then make your adjustments from there. So my adjustment from there was to lower the speed to 4,000 millimeters per minute, and now you can see that is the optimal speed for this laser to get every one of these gradients in here on a grayscale image. Okay, so that was the next thing that I did. Then I decided to try and do some cuts. So this kind of surprised me. 3mm birch, 3mm plywood. This is 3-ply plywood, 100% one pass. I went from 130 to 180 millimeters per minute, and didn't phase it at all. So I said, okay, and now this is my standard for 5-watt lasers, okay? So then I decided to go to 190, from 190 to 240, and guess what happened? It just cut clean through, exactly like the first one, even all the way up to 240. Now typically, on the 10-watt lasers, I'm looking at about 220 to 260. So this is pretty comparable to a 10-watt laser, which really amazes me. And you know, this laser module is a fantastic module. There's no question about that. So I didn't have any thick wood on hand, but I did have a picture frame. And the picture frame is, I believe this was 12 millimeters. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I have this picture frame that I decided to do a cutout, and you can see right here, clean cut, 12 millimeters, yeah, 12 millimeters thick. This is 6 passes, so it did this in 6 passes. I mean, that is just amazing. And this was 6 passes at 120 speed. So good. This is white wood. It's a nice solid wood. It has a lot of glue in it, I can tell you that. I can see from the burn marks. So did a fantastic job on that. Something that you would not expect from a 5-watt laser. And then let me show you something else. I have never been able to cut this MDF. This is 6.45 millimeter MDF. Never been able to cut it. I've tried on several lasers. This was a 10-watt laser. These two were both 10-watt lasers. Neither one of them went even a millimeter into it. And again, what I like about the long focus laser is that it cuts. And you can see I cut the tail off right there. There was a little hanging piece right here, and I did this one in 8 passes. So this was 8 passes, 120 millimeters per minute, and it cut all the way through. Something that I've never been able to do on this particular MDF before. And this is made by Greenbrier International. I got this from the Dollar General, no, the Dollar Tree, and it is one of their wood animal shapes collection, MDF, 6.45 millimeters. Nearly impossible to cut except on the CO2. This laser cut right through it. So I am extremely impressed with the results of this laser. It is a formidable 5-watt laser. These new LU2-4 LF modules are incredible. They're really incredible. I'm going to say that Ortur makes the best 5-watt laser module on the market. And you know, Ortur has always been, it's a young group of engineers. They've always been since the beginning. The very first Orturs that I got from them were the little cantilever style. I guess it was in 2019 or so when they first started the company. Even those were good. I think the first one was a 7-watt, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, all throughout Ortur's history, they have had a lot of bugs, a lot of firmware bugs, because they were the first ones to develop this control board for diode lasers. So they do have their own control board. They were the first ones to develop the 32-bit control board, and it is proprietary, and they have had a lot of firmware bugs. But usually Grbl is their head of support, I guess tech support you might call it. And Jill is probably the most knowledgeable person I know when it comes to diode lasers. And over the years, he has helped me make sure that, you know, I've got the current firmware, and, you know, we've tested some of the different Grbl settings and new firmware and things like that. So they're very active as far as support is concerned. And Jill is one of the best people in support anywhere for any company. There's no question about that. He's over in Portugal, and he handles all of Ortur's technical issues and firmware. So great guy. You know, if you ever have trouble, you can reach him in their group on Facebook, and he will answer your problems, and they will get them resolved. I did not have any problems with this laser, except for initially setting it up. You know, you have to manually set things up, and that's not a problem. That's just something that when you're buying a budget laser, you have to do things a little differently, and I showed you the hack for that. So okay, now with that done, let me jump into and speaking of firmware, let me jump into a quick firmware video for you, because you're going to want to know this. Ortur is very active when it comes to firmware. They release new firmware. They have a repository where they release new firmware on a regular basis, and you're probably going to want to update your firmware. So let's jump into that video real quick, and I'm going to show you exactly how you update the firmware on an Ortur. Alright, so what I've done here is I have opened 2 File Explorer windows. On this one here, I've got it set to the folder where I have the firmware extracted to, and you can see here is the firmware, ESP Aufero 187.bin, and over here are the drives that are connected to my computer. Now when I turn on the Aufero Laser, and this works with any Ortur, by the way, you're going to see over here on this side a new drive pop up. So let me go ahead and turn that on right now, and you can see this happen live time. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the power button. I'm going to hold it down for about five seconds, and then once it lights up and the power comes on, I'm going to tap the reset button, and that's what's going to make it appear as one of my drives. Alright, so now we can see we have the Aufero Laser has popped up as a drive over here. And what we're going to do is, I'm just going to take this one, make sure that it's highlighted by clicking on it. So click once on it, and then click and drag this straight over to here, like so. And now you'll see that it's going to copy that over to the laser, and then the laser is going to turn off. And it is just turned off. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to power the laser back on normally. And now you'll see that it did not show up over here. So the laser is back on. I'm going to close all of these windows, and in Lightburn I'm going to come down here and pick the Aufero Laser 2, and there we go, it has connected. We come to the console now. We can see that there is the version of the software and that it has correctly installed. Now at this point, we have to do another reset. So we're going to type $RST equals asterisk, and we're going to press the enter. And now you can see that it has reset and the laser is ready to use. Now the only thing I want to show you some of the macros I have here. One of the things that I want to set is the $1.63 to 120. And if you right click on any of these buttons over here, you can get into the menu to adjust your Grbl settings and send a macro to the laser. And what this means is $2.63 on the Aufero is set to 1. That's the normal setting. Now we have already set, and let me show you. If I come in here and I type in $, you'll see, oh, I'm sorry, not 1, it's set to 30, excuse me. So here's the $2.63 right here, and that's set to 30. And what that is a sleep timer. I don't want it to go to sleep after 30 minutes. I want it to go to sleep after, say, 2 hours. So what I've done is I've created this macro here, and let me right click on it to bring it back up. And I've named it 2 hours to sleep, and I've done $2.63 equals 120. And that's what I want, 2 hours. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this button, 2 hours to sleep, and you'll see that it says that the stream was completed. And if we come back in here and type $, once again, you'll see that my $2.63 is now set for 2 hours, 120 minutes. So now we've completed the process of updating the firmware on this laser. And I mean, it was just that simple. So a very easy process to do. Anyone can do it. The only problem that you may have is getting the sequence down to get the drive to read in your Windows Explorer. So the thing that I found is that they tell you tap the reset button. What I do is I hold the power button till the laser turns on. I don't let it go. And then once the laser turns on, I press and hold the reset button for a second or two. And you'll see that it'll start flashing, and you can let go of it at that point. And that's when you're in the firmware mode, and you'll see the drive pop up on your computer. All right, so that's it. That's pretty much everything I think we've covered here. I do want to cover a few things. So let's talk about the good and the bad. The good is that this laser does everything that they claim it to do. You can run it at 10,000 millimeters per minute, and no matter what you're doing, as far as engraving is concerned, you will get a good gradient. Now, I'm going to choose to run this at images at 4,000 millimeters per minute. That's where I want to do my images. My vectors, I can run at 9 or 10,000 millimeters per minute. But this is where, you know, I'll look at this sample here and pick how dark I want the image to be. So if I want the maximum darkness on the image to be here at 95, then I'll set my cuts and layers at 95% power and 4,000 millimeters per minute, excuse me. So that's what this is for, and that we're going to use this particular scale here to determine how to do images, and this is for images only. For vectors, we're going to go back to our universal test card, and you can see that is a beautiful vector image there. So we're going to look at the test card, and we're going to know that 100% power, 9,000 millimeters per minute is going to produce that vector image right there. So that's what we're using all of these tests for. I know a lot of people get confused when we talk about these tests and how to use them. So maybe that explains it a little bit better. But I'm going to tell you that you're not going to get a better engraving of a photograph on wood than I've got right here. There's just no question about that. This machine has outperformed my expectations. I expected this to be a basic 5.5 watt laser. I probably should have expected a lot more because, you know, we're using the LU24 long focus laser. So, you know, I probably should have expected more out of it. I didn't at first. But now I can say with authority that as far as budget lasers go, and this is a budget laser, the 5.5 watt version of it, you know, this is going to be up there at the very top of my list. And, you know, I don't recommend lasers. I recommend that you watch all the videos that you can and, you know, pick and choose based on the reviews that are out there. Although a lot of them are fluff reviews by people that are just excited to get something for free. Mine are not. You know, mine go in depth. I talk about everything that you're probably going to experience with these lasers as a user, and they're completely honest. So I hope you got some value out of this video today. There's not much more that I can say about it. The bad, I did notice a little bit of the V wheels starting to wear. Running at this speed, they're going to wear. So, and I did halfway through the process have to adjust one of the eccentric nuts. And what I do with all my lasers is I feel the nut and I try and spin it by hand. If I can spin the wheel, excuse me, if I can move that wheel, the V wheel, by moving it with my finger, then that nut needs to be adjusted. So halfway through this process, I did need to adjust one of the wheel's eccentric nuts and tighten it just a little bit, about a half a turn. And I did notice a little bit of wear material coming off on the X gantry. So the wheels are going to wear. I'm going to say that I'll probably make a prediction that maybe you'll get 6 months life out of a set of V wheels. They really should switch them to either, you know, stainless steel or a linear rail system, in my opinion. But other than that, you know, nothing else. At the end of all of my testing, I checked all of the wheels again by trying to spin them, and they were all still good. So one wheel adjustment, which I guess is, we're going to say that's normal during the first use of the laser, and then one eccentric nut adjustment, and that's about it. That was the only problem that I had. So anyway, this video's gone long enough. I hope you enjoyed the video today. You know, I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Hit that bell notification. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.